This is Gringo Loco. You're listening to the Dave Dynasty Show.
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion, Brazil.
The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty, and this is your premier podcast for Midwest professional wrestling, your longest running podcast for Midwest professional wrestling, where not only do we give you the best historical pieces and interviews with hard-to-find subjects from Midwest professional wrestling and spotlights on names both remembered and forgotten, to shine a little light on the history of pro wrestling, but we also give you the best guests from modern day Midwest professional wrestling scene, and that includes today's guest, MLW star Gringo Loco. This is a great interview. I'm a big fan of Gringo's. He is doing some spectacular things. He's very talented, very entertaining. As a matter of fact, all of MLW is. If you're not watching MLW, what is wrong with you? Their shows are, you can watch them for free on YouTube. They come out just a couple days after the air date on TV. So check them out. It's a great, great show. Lots of Midwest talent. Like I said, Gringo's there. He's a Chicago native. He's on the show. Mance Warner's on the show. Of course, it's commentary from Jim Cornette. There's lots of great Midwest talent there. Myron Reed's on the show. Ace Austin, who we see in a lot of Midwest shows. So you should be really checking out MLW every week. I highly recommend it, especially if you're kind of a fan that's kind of stepped away, that maybe you've lost the luster of the modern product and it just doesn't feel the same to you. MLW will restore some of that faith. Trust me, it's a great show. Check them out, MLW Fusion. You can see it every week on YouTube. You can also see it on BN Sports. If you do not get BN Sports, you can catch it on YouTube, and you will see today's star, MLW star, today's guest, Gringo Loco on that show. Again, I cannot recommend it enough. That interview is coming up soon. Before we do that, let's take care of all the business, shall we? Again, I'm once again going to plug PowerSlam.tv. Again, if you are looking for independent professional wrestling to watch, that maybe the mainstream stuff has just lost your interest, right? You just don't want to tune in every Monday and Tuesday and spend half your life watching that program, then might I suggest you check out PowerSlam.tv. Well over 100 independent promotions from all over the world, over 4,000 hours of content. You'll go down the rabbit hole. You'll get lost watching the great product that you will see on there. Go sign up. Use the promo code Dynasty, and you get 1 month for free. Give it a shot. What do you got to lose, right? 1 month, and I guarantee you they will hook you. That is on PowerSlam.tv. Sign up. Use the promo code Dynasty and get a month for free. Let's plug a few dates for you. And there's a show August 24th, DCCW again in Muncie, Indiana. Now, I'm going to talk about this again because in depth, I'm there all the time. I'm working with him, DCCW in Muncie. I'm helping with the live streaming, the commentary, doing some of the promotional work for them and everything else. But this show's truly special. They have a fan. His name was Christian. He was a very young boy, and he fell to brain cancer. He passed away, and they're now doing a show because his parents need a little help, right? They couldn't work for quite a while, taking care of Christian. So the community's rallying. That's what we do, right? That's what the Midwest Express is all about. That's what pro wrestling is all about. Rallying to help each other and to help our fans. And that's what this is. This is Wrestling for Christian. It's going to be a great show. All the proceeds are going to Christian's family to help them get back on their feet, right? We cannot replace what they've lost. We cannot ease their pain, but we can honor their son. We can give them a little financial help to get them through this rough spot and hopefully help keep them afloat and help get them going. So come. I'm sure there's going to be raffles. There's going to be all kinds of cool things. There's some really big names being talked about that's going to come in and donate their time for the show. More information on that in the future, but check that out. August 24th, DCCW at the Mad Jacks building in Muncie, Indiana. Make sure you're there. I will definitely be there. It's going to be a cool night. September 7th, I'll be in Chicago, Illinois for Ring of Honor. Check that show out. October 12th in Crawfordsville, Indiana. New Generations Wrestling Quest for the Cup. Quest for the Cup. This is a show, man, I'm telling you, I'm so excited for this show. It is a one-night 12-team tag team tournament. That is everything that I want to see in professional wrestling in a night of action. Again, man, I'm having all kinds of trouble here. NGW's Quest for the Cup. There's already 2 teams announced. We announced one last week. They previously announced the Hooligans as an interest. Last week we announced the Soul Shooters as an interest. There's more teams coming up. We will be announcing another team next week on that episode, so you want to check that out. It's going to be very, very cool. Again, this is going to be a fun show. We are one of the sponsors. We will be there. We'll have a table set up so you can come and say hi to us, have your picture taken. I might even bring my WWE replica belt so you can get a picture taken with it. How cool is that? And then on November 2nd, Chicago, Illinois, Major League Wrestling debuts on pay-per-view, and we will be there covering that show. Now, one other show I want to mention really, really quick. August 17th is coming up soon. There's a show called Retaliation that will be held in Indianapolis by Upstart Pro Wrestling. And this is going to be a really, really great show. And we are helping them out a little bit. I'm writing, in the process of working on, an article that is going to talk about the history of pro wrestling in Indianapolis a bit and how important the city of Indianapolis is to professional wrestling. We're going way back, right? We're talking about all kinds of things. We're talking about WrestleMania. We're talking about Dick the Bruiser. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff just to press how important this championship match is, an Indianapolis championship match with the champion Colton Cage defending against the challenger Ace Perry. And just to show how important this title is, just to show how important the champion of Indianapolis and what professional wrestling is in Indianapolis, I am going to write this article. It will be coming out on August 12th. On the Upstart Pro Wrestling Facebook page. But, of course, I will share it, and you will be able to see that and read that. It's going to be very cool. So watch for that coming up. And again, check them out. August 17th, Upstart Pro Wrestling in Indianapolis, Indiana. There you have it. There's all kinds of indie shows there that I'm plugging. There's tons more out there that even I'm not mentioning, right? There's always independent wrestling out there. And, professional wrestling is so divided right now, right? You have this, it seems like you have these 2 camps of the old school guys, which, I kind of tend to fall into. They have these old school mentalities, these old school beliefs. And sometimes they're a little extreme, right? And sometimes they're not accepting, right? But then there's also this new breed with all the new style and everything else. And it's all, a lot of times it's very confrontational, which I don't like the confrontational part and that, whatever else. But there's all these people out there who are saying they just don't enjoy professional wrestling anymore, right? The modern professional wrestling. There's nothing out there for you. And I would beg to differ. There is plenty of independent pro wrestling out there that is fun and is enjoyable to watch. And if you don't want to get out and go to a show, there's tons of it to watch online or the streaming services or whatever else. Again, I plug POWA Pro Wrestling out of Toledo, Ohio all the time. Their weekly show is on YouTube, and you can watch it every week. We talked about MLW earlier. Their show is on YouTube. I watch Ohio Valley Wrestling is a great company, has been for a long, long time. Their show is weekly on YouTube. There's tons of good professional wrestling out there to watch. I guarantee you something out there that you will enjoy if you look, right, and get out there and watch it. There's shows to go to. There's shows to watch online. So get out there and do it, right? Support independent wrestling. And, instead of ripping apart what you don't like, then just find what you do like and watch that and support that, right? But, again, there's always all these battles and everything else, and it's cool, whatever. But, it is what it is. I try not to get dragged into it. I have very strong opinions on it, right? I am very old school in my mentality, but the fact of the matter is, if there's something new and I don't enjoy it, and it's out there, I just ignore it. I hit the block. I hit whatever. I just don't have any part of it. But again, this episode's coming out to you. It should be released on August 5th, which is my birthday. It's Dave Dynasty's birthday. And again, I'm recording this the day before, and I'm already starting to get birthday wishes online. Thank you very much. It's very cool. I've gotten messages. I've gotten wall posts. I've gotten tweets. I've gotten texts. Lots of cool people. Man, I'm telling you, if some of the things and some of the people I interact with and talk to, when I was a kid, if you had told me that I would someday be interacting with these people, I would think you were nuts. So again, thank you very much to everybody. I do appreciate it. I had a good weekend. Went took a weekend away with the family, went to Monticello, Indiana, to Indiana Beach. If you're in the area, you've not been there, it's a very cool, fun little place. We've gone for, 16 years now, or 17 years, something like that, in a row. And we go at least for a day or two every year, and it's a fun place. We like it. So it was good to get away and not think about anything. And it's kind of part of the celebration for my birthday. But thank you again for all the wishes. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for supporting us every week as you do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm telling you, this is a fun interview. This is a great, great interview. And maybe you've not heard of Gringo Loco. Don't let that deter you. Listen to this interview and then go check him out. You'll thank me later. He is talented. He is great. He's everything I want. He's a Midwest guy that has lucha experience and brings it all together. Man, that is like my dream right there. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we have that interview with MLW star Gringo Loco. So stick around. Hey, make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. That is your central hub for everything within the world of the Dave Dynasty Show. From there, you can find links to follow us on all of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube, which you will want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of classic wrestling, every episode of the podcast, and other exclusive features there. While you're at DaveDynasty.com, check out the links to help financially support the show. That is how we keep this free every week. You can go to PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/The Dave Dynasty and buy a shirt to help us out. PayPal.me/The Dave Dynasty to make a one-time financial contribution. Patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty to make ongoing monthly contributions. Or you can click our affiliate links for Amazon.com and HighSpots.com. No additional charge to you, but it helps us out. Thank you for your support, and check out DaveDynasty.com. Complete your experience with The Dave Dynasty Show.
And welcome back to The Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with again another amazing talent. We have Gringo Loco. How are you doing today?
Hey, bud. Thanks for having me on. Doing good.
Oh, absolutely. Not a problem at all. Thanks for coming on and being with us here today. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So, Gringo, you're from Chicago, Illinois. When did you first discover wrestling as a fan?
I mean, I have like the generic story of, every wrestler. You start watching it on Saturday mornings, WWF Superstars, and you see the ring, and you see these larger-than-life personas, man. And I just got hooked. I think I was like 8, 9 years old, and then I've never left it ever since.
No, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with the old, hey, I started watching it as a kid and just fell in love with it. So then, when did you start training, and how did you decide to actually pursue wrestling?
Yeah, so my story is a little different. I became obsessed with wrestling, hit high school, really wanted to do it, but I had no idea how. That's what a lot of the guys' stories entail, too. So we actually found a gymnastics place in high school with a blue tumbling floor, and it was open gym every Wednesday, and I remember asking if we could do, like, wrestling maneuvers, if that would be an issue, and they said no. So I was like, I got a couple of my buddies, like 3 or 4 of them. We would just perform what we knew, finishing maneuvers, the stunner, the rock bottom, the pro river plunge, all that good stuff. And that's pretty much where it started. Like, that's like my training. But once we go on farther into the story, a couple of years go by, and an actual professional wrestler comes in, and he's doing like some tumbling and rolling and stuff. And he saw what we were doing, and he liked it. And he was saying, have you guys ever wrestled before? We're like, no. And it was like the next day. It was a Thursday, I remember. He was like, why don't you come check out our wrestling gym? And I was like, with a real ring? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, wow, dude, we have to do that. Like, forget homework. We're going to whatever this is tomorrow. And it could have been a little sketch, man. We didn't even know this guy from anybody. But we went, and it ended up being a lucha libre gym. So that's why I hold that. I'm very true to my roots to lucha libre, because that's how I got introduced actually into the business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that was actually kind of part of my next question, is what drew you to the lucha libre style, which obviously, you have your roots in it. That's how you were trained. But why has this style always appealed to you?
I think it's just it's a smoother style, not taking anything away from the American style. I just like that it's very acrobatic. There's a lot of use of the ropes. If you're on the other end, there's a lot of basing. It's more of a working together performance, but I don't think that the fans really mind that. Obviously there's brawling in lucha libre, but when you get to like the pretty acrobatic stuff, that's what drew me into that. Because you're really working with your partner to make it look the best that it can, and that's just what drew me to it. It's what I was introduced to. So.
No, absolutely. So then, I guess to kind of follow along that train of thought, your name is obviously very unique. The term Gringo Loco. Tell us how you came about that name and how you got that.
Yeah, so it was given to me. I started doing the lucha libre training. Really loved it. Never missed a day. And they would be speaking Spanish amongst themselves, and I didn't know any Spanish at all at that time. And they would always say, "Oh, Gringo Loco, Gringo Loco." I was like, "Oh, yeah." I thought they were making fun of me, saying that I was like a crazy, just white guy trying to do wrestling. But where it comes from is I had the style and the look that Art Barr had. Once I'm looking back, after all these years, that's what they saw in me. They said that I worked and looked like Art Barr, which was the Gringo Loco, Eddie Guerrero's partner, whatever. So that's where it derived from. And I remember the first time I got onto a poster, my original name, a high school kid coming up with like a cool name, quote unquote, was Time Page. And they would always put Time Page and then Gringo Loco under it. So it's really interesting that after all these years, like that became my name, and I'm running with it as far as I can.
Right, absolutely. So I guess in regards to that as well, you also call yourself Base God, and for those who maybe don't understand lucha, can you tell them what you mean by that?
Okay, so there's two components to a lucha libre match. There's the base, and then there's the technico. The base has to make the technico look as flawless and fluid as possible, make them look like a superstar. But for the people that are in the know, they know that the base is just as important, if not more important, in that sequence to make it all work. So I'm sitting with DJ Z one night, and we obviously know the terms or whatever, and we're watching a lucha libre match from CMLL, and they're just going absolutely insane, like just so many things that are going on with basing and stuff. I was like, man, dude, these guys are base guys. He's like, what? I was like, man, these guys are base guys, bro. They never drop anybody, and they never will, and they're going to go to their deathbed without dropping anybody. They're gods of base. He was like, man, you know what, dude? I think you're one too. I was like, nah, bro, no way. But then I went back looking throughout my career, and I was like, you know what? I've never dropped anybody either, so maybe I am a base guy. He was like, dude, you got to run with that. And I was like, yeah, I actually like the idea, man. And that's really where it came from, because now I just make sure that, every time I'm in the ring that I'm not dropping anybody and making everybody look as clean and fluid as possible.
No, absolutely. And that's actually, a really great explanation. I definitely couldn't have explained it better. But
yeah.
But so you actually kind of mentioned this as well. We talked a little bit about, where you got your name from, some of your influences, and like you kind of mentioned, you drew comparisons to Art Barr, especially earlier in your career. But who else would you say that you draw influence from?
In terms of my style, I really loved Eddie. There's a lot of CMLL guys I don't know if you're familiar with, but Ultimo Guerrero is like the number one beast in Mexico right now. It always has been. He's, he can perform so many different basic techniques that I could just only dream of. Obviously, if you're talking American, like Eddie, the cruiserweights, Hoovy and Parker back then, man, you really can't beat that type of work. Even nowadays, it's hard to reach that level of athleticism and basing, and that classic match with Guerrero and Mysterio at Halloween Havoc. Everybody talks about it, and it's authentic lucha libre. There's a reason why they talk about that, because it was so different, it was so unique, and it was so fluid. It's actually what I try to do in every match. I just try to do exactly what they did in that match and make people emotionally involved the way that they did that night.
Right, absolutely. Definitely, those are some great people to draw a comparison with and trying to live up to, for sure. But kind of along the same lines, we've talked a lot about your upbringing in the business. But something that I've personally been curious with is, have you ever had any issues as an American working in a Mexican style? Do you ever get heat for that reason from other luchadors?
I would say in the beginning just because of the language barrier, but in terms of work rate and stuff, no, I've never run into issues of of an American trying to be a lucha libre guy. No, they've always been pretty accommodating down in Mexico, at least for my time down there. Now I think that I've reached a level of respect to where they wouldn't even think about saying anything bad because they've seen what I've accomplished.
No, for sure. And obviously good to hear that, of course, because,
Yeah.
definitely we don't want to hear about, hardships in that manner, but I'm glad that they were good and accommodating, of course. But in regards to that as well, like you said, you worked in Mexico. What's that experience like for you working down there?
I hold it close to my heart, man. I mean, I was down there for a duration of 4 years on and off, 2 years without coming back to the States, and I really enjoyed it. I learned so much. I really wish I could have stayed down there longer. Overall, I would say it was a great experience. I wouldn't be the wrestler I am today had I not done that, obviously. Just so many techniques. I mean, I learned how to actually brawl down there and be, my teacher was Black Terry. He taught us how to be a rabid dog if you're going to do that type of match. I learned that style. I just wouldn't be the wrestler today if it wasn't for Mexico, man. I hold it dear to my heart. It's one of those special places that if any wrestler aspires to be in Lucha Libre, you have to go to Mexico City at least once just to train and see what it's all about.
Absolutely. So overall, like we said, we talked a lot about the beginning of your career. We've talked about about your time in Mexico a little bit. But overall, you've been in the business for nearly 20 years. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think I just passed 17. I think it might be 16 or 17, but it's up there.
Right. So you've definitely been in the business for a while, and definitely you've appeared all over. You definitely put in the work. But it kind of just seems that the world is finally taking notice in you. Is that something that you think about at all?
Of course. I think about it all the time. It was because, I think we all go through this as wrestlers, but definitely there was a time where I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. And I did leave for a year and a half, 2 years, just because I was burnt out from Mexico. I just got back to the States and started making kind of a life again in the United States. And I just think that we all go through that. We all have to pass that, but it's what is it? Year 16 now. People are just starting to take notice, but it better late than never. It's I appreciate it a lot more because I know all the work that was put in, all the sacrifices, all the hungry nights in Mexico City. It's just one of those things that's you really do appreciate it finally when it comes, if it ever will. Sometimes it doesn't for everybody, But I definitely feel like this wave that I'm on now, it's definitely this has been the best year of my career by far. But the wave that I'm on now, I don't want it to end, and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can, physically, mentally, emotionally, to stay on this and just keep impressing fans and bring my unique offense and show that what basing is all about and stuff, and just try to take it as far as I can. Honestly, I'm enjoying every second of this, regardless if it's late or later on in my career. I don't mind it at all. I'm still able to go.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. And obviously, nothing's holding you back. You have your physicality and you have your work ethic. So definitely the time you spend in the business is in no way hindering you. But definitely something that where I've noticed you from is your work with Major League Wrestling. Tell us, how much has working for that promotion affected your career?
Oh my God, it's the things that's kind of skyrocketed me into where I need to be. It's huge exposure. It's great family feeling in the locker room. A great boss, obviously. Court's awesome. Conan being, the talent coordinator. He's, I knocked on his doors 10 years ago, and I didn't get an answer. But if you keep knocking, you can either get an answer or you can knock that door down. So me and Conan finally have an understanding to where, it kind of feels like it's my time. It's now or never, I thoroughly enjoy working for MLW. It's probably the best time I've been having in wrestling. Their talent, in the locker room is unbelievable. I was looking around the first couple dates that I did for them. I was like, wow, what am I doing here? These guys are all stars. And here I am, little Gringo Loco, just trying to make a name. But now it's more like, oh yeah, I'm proving myself that I can hang, with the bigger guys like Hammerstone or the Luchadors, obviously, because that's my style with, L.A. Park, his son. I think I'm in a really good place with Major League Wrestling. I really enjoy working for them.
Absolutely. And Major League Wrestling, they definitely have a hybrid mix of the American and lucha styles and different wrestlers. So definitely that it kind of seems like home for you in a way. But I guess to kind of follow up on that, just in general, wrestling in the Midwest is it's explosive. It's hot right now. Do you pride yourself on being part of the Midwest scene?
Yeah, absolutely, because it wasn't always like that. I mean, I've never been busier in my career than I have been now. It's clearly a renaissance period for the professional wrestling business, and I'm just really glad that I'm a part of it as opposed to on the outside looking in saying, damn, I wish I was there.
Right. No, absolutely. And definitely, like you said, it's a great time to be a part of wrestling. It's like you said, I think the renaissance is a good way to look at it. But what would you say, because like we said, working in the Midwest, working for MLW, working down in Mexico, working all over the past 16 years, you've done a lot, of course. But what would you say are some highlights of your career thus far? Maybe some fond memories or just people maybe that you like working with?
Oh, man. I mean, when DJ Z came into my life, that was a game changer. He was the one that got me back into the business initially. I had forgotten how much I enjoyed wrestling until I worked him at a really random festival show with 0 people watching. It was an outdoor show. It was raining. I had forgotten how much I liked wrestling until I got that opportunity with him. And it was so random. Like, I just showed up to a festival show just because I had nothing else to do. Wrestled him. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot that I was good at this. Like, maybe I should continue it. In terms of, like, awesome memories, I mean, becoming tag team champs with Steve Payton and AIW was a big one. I was like, wow. It's like my first championship in the States, and tried to run with that for as long as I could. Winning like the Trios championship in Mexico City, like that was like a badge of honor for me because I knew at that point in my career that I was good enough to get one, but I wasn't getting the opportunity to win one of them. And I finally did it with like 2 of my best friends in front of a sold-out crowd in Mexico City. It was like that was a big memory. And then obviously wrestling LA Park down in Miami. I had never wrestled in Miami ever, and MLW brought me down there. They had just signed me, and really cool story. Like before they started taping, I had a dark entrance, so I was in the ring before everybody comes out, and the entrance is all recorded or whatever. For 2.5 minutes, these people were not stopping with their chants of Gringo Loco, bass, God, whatever. Even the announcer was like, holy, have you ever been here before? I was like, nah, bro, I've never been here. This is unbelievable. It was the funnest 3 minutes of my career that I've ever had. And this was all just standing in the ring, not thinking that people know anything about Gringo Loco or whatever. I was like the most over guy of the night. It was awesome. And then obviously working LA Park, he's a legend. That kind of skyrocketed my name a little more in the value department. But yeah, I mean, that's what comes to mind in terms of memories. There's so many more, but those are like the 3 that come up.
Right, I was going to say, with 16 years of experience, I'm sure that you have 1,000,000,001 memories.
Yeah.
But, so I guess to all kind of follow up on that as well, the number of years and places you've been, I'm sure that you have some crazy road stories and some great stories. But do you care to share just an interesting road story you have with us?
Oh, my God, there's so many, man. I mean, if you go back to Mexico City, God, like first couple nights there, I'm with Tarzan Boy, also known as Toscano. He was a big star down there, and we're at a stoplight, and we see like this, maybe lady, maybe guy, we don't know, but she has heels on. She's running after this guy who's running away from her, and she's throwing her heel at his head and saying, I don't know what she was saying in Spanish, whatever, but she was really mad. She pushes him up against the hood of Tarzan Boy's car, and I'm like 18 years old, fresh out of high school, in a foreign country where I don't speak the language, and yeah, I mean this lady boy whatever pulls a gun out this guy on this guy's roof, on this guy's hood. I'm sorry, and I am looking like him. I was like, hey man, can you maybe like take this light because there's a gun. Like I don't feel comfortable. He's like, they're gonna move right now. This is a normal part of Mexico City. I was like, oh my God, this is like the Wild West out here, bro. It's scary as hell. That's probably the wildest story I have. I tell it all the time. But it was a drag queen chasing a customer for money and pulled a gun out on him on the roof. At the roof. On the hood of the car that I was sitting in, 18 years old, fresh into Mexico City.
I definitely feel like that would be the story that I tell people too, because that's a sentence that I never thought I'd hear. But hey, that's that's great though.
It was frightening, man. I was 18, like, okay, we're gonna die.
Right. You're like, this is it. Stuck to come here.
Yeah, this is it.
So other than that, but that's great though. I mean, like, again, that's a drag queen pulls a gun on customer on the hood of your car. That's great.
Yeah, throwing her heels at his head, and he's like dodging it. I'm like, oh my god, this is something. This is like a movie right now.
That's what I was gonna say. It sounds like something out of like some weird, comedy movie or something, like a Harold and Kumar movie.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's what I felt like, man.
You're like, this is my life.
But like Tarzan Boy was so calm about it. I was like, I guess nothing's gonna happen. But like, it legit could have happened, but it didn't. Thank God.
Yeah, I'd say it was funny because he's just like, yeah, this is just part of it's part of Mexico City. Just
yeah, he did. He almost didn't even care if his hood was dented or anything. He was just like, yeah, just let him get off. It'll be fine. I would have like hit the gas and been out of there in 2 seconds, but he just stayed there and let it happen.
He's like, let it play out. We'll see what happens, and we'll go on.
Yeah, seriously. But we survived it, thank God.
Right. Honestly, obviously you survived it. You're still here. But so definitely, along with everything we've talked about, you've told us a lot about, your upbringing in wrestling, your training, and everything else in between. But obviously, right now, like we said, professional wrestling is in its renaissance. Things are super explosive. But what are some of your goals for the remainder of 2019? You've had a pretty good year so far. So what can we expect from Gringo Loco in the end of this year?
I mean, bigger, more spectacular matches, man. I've had the opportunity to work with some really good guys. I wouldn't mind continue working with those guys and just come up with some creative ideas and just really blowing people's minds, which I've kind of been doing everywhere I go, as long as the guys are up for it and up to par and able to perform the stuff that I want them to do. But, I mean, I really just want to continue this wave that I'm on. Like, I don't really ask anything. It's weird. I'm like one of those guys that's never asked anything for the business. It's just come to me whenever it was time. So I don't really feel like a goal necessarily is where I'm at, because I just take everything as it comes. And, like, it's been nothing but good things this year. So, I mean, I've worked two of my 100% dream opponents in 1 year. One being Caristico, the other one being Volador Jr. And I was actually able to work Caristico twice this year, which is unheard of. Like, these guys in CMLL are untouchable. They never come out of CMLL to work anybody, with the exception of ROH or whatever. And I was able to work them both this year. And I at that point, I'm just like, well, whatever comes next. I have no idea what's going to come next, but I'm ready for it, because if that happened, I don't even know what else could possibly happen to make me happy in this business, because those were two major things that I thought would never in a million years happen, but they did.
Right, and like you said, it's a crazy business because you never know what's going to happen ever,
Yeah, seriously, I wasn't even necessarily in the looks to work Volador Jr. at Warrior Wrestling. I don't know if you've heard about him, but originally it was announced as a tag match. Lucha Brothers versus Dog and Volador. For whatever happened, the stars aligned. I don't even know how this is possible, but I worked one-on-one that night. However it happened, I forget how it happened, but yeah, one-on-one with Volador Jr. I mean, that's unbelievable, and we killed it. He was the best person I've ever worked with. So professional, so humble, and that's all you can ask for out of an opponent. Just to be professional, humble, and just open to ideas. And it was great. It was euphoric. I've had some euphoric moments this year for sure.
Absolutely. So, I definitely, first of all, before we move on, I want to thank you again, of course, for coming on here and just sharing all these stories and just giving us some time to chat with you. So definitely appreciate that. But one of the last things I kind of wanted to throw your way, just to get to know a little bit more about Gringo Loco, is we'd like to ask, what are you like away from the ring? Because I'm sure a lot of people have seen you in the ring, one way or another. So what do you like outside of the ring? Do you have any hobbies or interests that you do?
Yeah, I actually do a lot of traveling when I don't wrestle. I do like to get to a city, not know anything about it, and explore everything it has to offer. And I'm just like pretty much a laid-back, cool guy, humble. Just I've never ever refused a picture, an autograph, nothing like that. I'm happy to do it. Obviously we party on the weekends. Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Right.
But I'm a family man too. I have a little 7-year-old daughter who I take very good care of, and she's actually starting to wrestle too, which is unbelievable. She loves it. So I got a couple businesses in Chicago, so I'm a pretty busy guy outside of wrestling. But somehow I just make it all work. Everything has its time, and you just got to find and place where it has to go. That's how I always have been. I never really stay still.
No, absolutely. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. They say if you stay still for too long, it's just not a good thing.
Yeah, seriously.
But so with everything, all that said, we talked a lot about everything. Now I want to give you just a platform to throw out your social media. So where can people come find you and see where you're going to be next?
Yeah. So what are we? We're I am Base God on Instagram. We got Gringo Loco OG for the Twitter, and then Charlie Santo is the shoot name on Facebook. That's where I'm at.
Absolutely. And so right now, everybody who's listening to the podcast that is listening to this interview, you want to go ahead and go follow him on all of his social medias because he's incredible and he does a lot of great work. So you definitely want to go check him out. So that's what you should do now. And Gringo, thank you again for coming on here. We really appreciate it. And for everybody out there, he's been super awesome. So definitely appreciate that, man.
If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. And we're back here on the Dave Dynasty Show. I am Dave Dynasty. Thank you to Gringo Loco for coming on and doing that interview. Again, if you have not checked him out, please do so. Go on YouTube, check out MLW Fusion Weekly, and you can see Gringo Loco on there. Of course, lots of other Midwest favorites, including our old buddy Mance Warner. I think pretty soon I'm going to put together like an omnibus, a total collection of when Mance Warner was here on the Dave Dynasty Show doing Warner's Wisdom. That was some great stuff. A lot of people forget that he was on the show for a long time when we first started, so I think I'm going to put that together and put that out there to give the complete package of what Mance Warner was like on the Dave Dynasty Show. Before we get out of here today, we're going to throw some classic audio to you. This is from the mid-'80s. I'm not sure the exact year, but again, from the mid-'80s. This is Spike Huber's PAWA promotion. He ran out of French Lick, did some shows around, kind of in opposition to Bruiser. And I'm telling you, this was a trip. There's very little footage out there, but it's wild stuff. And Spike was the champ at the PAWA, and he had this little rivalry or a match with King Kong Brody, Bruiser Brody. And here are a couple of interviews with the two. Again, the PAWA is something that someday I hope to really tap into, and I'd like to do a complete episode on and really analyze. But again, there's not a lot out there. I'm trying to do research and find stuff, so hopefully something turns up in the future. But again, here's some classic audio from the PAWA. First is an interview with the PAWA champ, Spike Huber. You have to be forgiving. At the very beginning of the audio, there's a beeping noise. That's a national weather alert that was on the television station. It just lasts a moment. But then following that up is the interview, the counter, the rebuttal by King Kong, Bruiser Brody. So check this out. From the mid-'80s, PAWA, Spike Huber, and then Bruiser Brody.
Saturday, August 8th, at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory, it's going to be Spike Huber's toughest test to date when I put this belt up against a man who I've had a long run-in feud with, and a lot of wrestlers have. That man is King Kong Brody. That's right, King Kong Brody has signed with Cowboy Clint, and I know Johnny Starr had a lot to do with this because Johnny Starr said that he'd do everything he could to get Spike Huber out of wrestling. Well, Johnny Starr, you picked a man that might give Spike Huber the toughest match of his life, because I've wrestled before and I've dealt with King Kong Brody and I've seen just what he can do. He broke my leg about 5 years ago, and Brody, you remember it, don't you? You remember it well. Well, I will remember it forever, because I carry the scars on my leg that reminds me of King Kong Brody and what he did to me. That happened 5 years ago, Brody. That's right, 5 long years. Well, lots happened to Spike Huber in 5 years. I've grown up and I'm a man, and I'll tell you what, you're not messing with no snot-nosed kid, because I come into the ring and I wrestle. I work tough out in the fields and construction sites with all my brothers, and when I get back into that ring, I just remember how hard I worked that day and how those people are behind me, and they back me all the way along. And when I come after you, Brody, remember this. On August 8th, pull your pants up tight, strap those fur boots up, come in as mean and tough as you want, because this man right here can get just as mean and just as tough. And if it takes a chair to smash in your face, I'll do it. And if I can, I'll put some damage to your leg and see what it's like to walk around with scars to remember the wrestler that did it to you, Spike Huber. 2 out of 3 falls at the Stout Field. I'll be there, and I'll be ready to wrestle you. No holds barred.
My guest today is a renowned wrestler, outstanding person, King Kong Brody, who is making his debut in the PAWA. I'd like to ask you a question. Of all your travels throughout the world, what made you join the PWA for this tour?
Well, first of all, you're right. I've been traveling a lot around the world. You know, it's a great opportunity when you get a chance to go around the world and meet some of the greatest athletes, whether it be in Japan, Germany, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Los Angeles. And you know, when you're in professional wrestling or any other sport, it's just one of those things. You hear about all the other good athletes in the business. If you're running the football for one of these NFL football teams, you know about the guy who's over there on the other team, and he's already ran for 1,000 yards this year. And it's the same thing in professional wrestling. As I go around the world and I go around the country, I hear about different wrestling organizations and where the quality wrestling is. And one of the things that brought King Kong Brody to pro-American wrestling here in the last few months was an opportunity to get in the ring with some of the good wrestlers that are starting out in this business and some of the more established wrestlers. And I think you know who I'm talking about. Spike Huber, you know, Spike Huber, he has a big reputation around here. If I'm not mistaken, he's probably been wrestling here, probably got 10 or 12 years experience under his belt. You know, when a wrestler gets that kind of experience under his belt and stays in one particular sport that long, he's different. He stands out above the crowd. This is the thing about Spike Huber. He hadn't been in wrestling 2 years or 3 years. He's been doing this thing for like 10 or 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. So when a guy like King Kong Brody, he gets a chance to come up here to the Central States, up here in Indiana and around the surrounding area, and get a chance to get in the ring with another good athlete and give the people a chance to make their own decision. You know, people want to know, well, who is the best in professional wrestling? Who is the best in our area? Who is the best wrestler around? Well, I like people to say, well, I saw King Kong Brody wrestle, and I'm telling you, he's the best. Well, I know when there's one person who says that, I know there's another person over here who says, well, I think that Spike Huber can beat King Kong Brody any day of the week. Well, in my mind, the only way to prove who can beat who is to come right up here and get in the middle of the things, get in the ring, and show the people either this guy's right or this guy's right. I don't want people running around and saying Spike Huber can beat King Kong Brody, because in my mind, and I hope in your mind too, King Kong Brody can beat Spike Huber. And I'm going to beat him. I'm going to get a chance to get him in the ring again. I'm going to get my chance to prove to the people all around the area that King Kong Brody is a better athlete. He's a better wrestler. I don't want any mistakes in the people's mind when they turn on that television set and it may be just a little boy, 9 years old, and he runs and gets, Dad, hey Dad, come here, look who's on TV. It's King Kong Brody. He's my favorite. That's what I want the kids to be telling their dads.
Well, you've heard right now the PAWA is bringing you world champion wrestlers, all-stars, starting with King Kong Brody. For the PAWA magazine, I'm Byron Lee, asking you to join us again next week.
Again, some great audio from mid-'80s PAWA, Spike Huber and King Kong Brody. I'm telling you what, go do yourself a favor, go on YouTube and look at it. The video clips are out there, and Spike wearing the hard hat. I don't know what he was doing. It's again, someday, I'm going to do some deep research and do an episode on the PAWA. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I look forward to it. And Spike Huber is one of those guys I keep trying to get on the show, and I'm very, very close. Hopefully someday it will happen. We'll see. But thank you for joining us this week. Thank you for what a great episode with Gringo Loco, with that classic audio with Spike Huber and King Kong Brody. Again, we bring you the best in Midwest Pro Wrestling, both the history and the best of today. And we thank you for joining us every week and all the support you give us. And remember, the ways to do that are very, very easy. Follow us on social media. You heard the plug earlier for where you can find us. Make sure you do that. We're on all the platforms. So make sure you follow us. I put lots of cool stuff out there. Lots of video, pictures, lots of things. And wherever you listen to us, we're on all the podcast platforms. Make sure you subscribe to us. And if you're on iTunes, make sure you rate and review us, because that does help us with our exposure. When we post the episodes, or when you listen to them, make sure you share them on your social media. Tell people, hey, check these guys out. Give them a listen. You're going to like it. That is our greatest tool, is the word of mouth, the voice of the Midwest Express, you guys, helping spread the word, helping tell your friends, helping share our posts. Again, this episode is dropping on my birthday. So, hey, you want to give me a birthday gift? You got a couple choices. All right. First, go out there, share all of our stuff, show me some love, right? You can wish me a happy birthday, but also share my posts and tell people, hey, listen to Dave. He's got a cool show. Just, stroke my ego a little bit, right? And help us network and get out there. Other ways you can support the show and wish me a happy birthday also is you can financially contribute. You can go to paypal.me/The Dynasty. Make a one-time contribution. And go to patreon.com/The Dynasty. Any money we get from those goes right back into the show. It costs money to upgrade the equipment, to travel to shows, to do all these things that we like to do. So, give us a little something, right? And it goes right back into the show. And if you want to get something in return, go to PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/The Dynasty and buy one of our shirts. Again, that is a great birthday present for me, is if you would go buy one of our shirts and help us out. But what a great episode. It was a lot of fun today, and thank you for listening. Next week's episode is going to be very, very special, because I'm going to close by talking about, of course, on August 1st, we lost Harley Race. And I don't think the importance of Harley Race in professional wrestling can be overstated. He was truly a legend, and that word is thrown around so much, the word legend, but Harley Race was truly a legend. He was a man's man, a great wrestler, and from all reports, just a great, great guy. 8-time NWA champion. But what is important here on the Dave Dynasty Show to us is he was a 1-time WWA champion. That's right, 1982. Harley Race had a little run here in the WWA in Indianapolis. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. We've done it before with Bruno Sammartino. We did a Bruno Sammartino in the WWA episode. Last week, we did a Scott Steiner in the WWE episode. Next week, in honor of Harley Race, the king himself, we are going to do a episode on Harley Race and the WWA. I got a couple guests, at least one guest, let me put it that way, that I'm hoping to have on to talk about it, who was there firsthand to experience it. He's going to tell his side of it and tell some stories about Harley being there. I'm going to tell you the dates and the results and what he was doing. And yes, there's not a lot of footage. There's a match out there with Harley and Dick the Bruiser. I will put that up. But he did hold the WWA title and was briefly in Indianapolis working for Dick the Bruiser in the 80s, in 1982. So we're going to cover that next week in honor of Harley Race. Harley Race in the WWA, so you want to check that out next week. You guys really love when we do these dives into the history. So this episode is not only for you, but it is to pay a little respect to Harley Race. So check that out next week. But thank you again for joining us. And until next week's episode, in whatever you do and wherever you go, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.